Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and on my next Freemasonry stories, I'm with Terry Smalley, who is the almoner of Lumley 1893 in the province of Lincolnshire. Welcome, and thank you for joining me this morning, Terry.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. It's nice to be recognised in these backwaters.
Well, Lincolnshire is a big old county, my friend.
It is.
What I'd like to do is spend the next 10 minutes or so talking about your story as a Freemason, what you enjoy about it, what you get out of it, so we can help other men in Lincolnshire and potentially beyond, those that are looking for something extra in life to do. So if you don't mind me asking, when did you first consider being a Freemason? Did someone approach you or did you approach them? And when was that, please?
It would be approximately 25 years ago now.
Okay.
And I was approached by a customer of ours at Spilsby, a guy called Eric Dennett, who was quite high up in Shakespeare Lodge in Spilsby.
Okay.
And we used to do his refrigeration work, and he suddenly said, "I think you're a client for Freemasonry." Okay. And so that's how it began.
Obviously, well, not obviously, but Freemasonry does have certain people's perceptions of it. Did you or your partner have any worries or concerns or fears?
None at all. I can honestly say that in them days, I found it was a privilege to be asked.
Yes.
And it was. I think things are probably a little bit different now, but it was a privilege to be asked. And I thought, well, if it was good for the likes of Eric, it was good enough for me. And also another guy called Peter Taylor, who was another friend of mine, and both quite well off in business, done very well. And I thought, well, it's got to be right for me. And, you know, not that I was well off at that time, still am, but, you know, I had no qualms about joining, none at all.
What did your partner say, your wife?
Probably mooted a few things about going up in the world and that sort of thing, because in them days it was probably more of a privilege to get asked to join the Freemasons, as opposed to not sort of decrying it now, but it had different aspects in them days. It was a totally different setup. We've evolved, you know, over the years.
I would say it's more open, but yet still I think it's a privilege. But let's move on. So can you remember the first time that you went to your first meeting, and how did you feel? Again, not letting too much away, but how did you feel during and after your first Freemasonry meeting?
First meeting. I very, very apprehensive, very nervous. I always remember I was met at the lodge door after all the Masons had gone in to lodge. It doesn't happen now like that, but I was on my own. And of course, once again, it's a little bit more open. And then this guy came down, who was obviously a Tyler, and he got me ready. And believe me, I was very, very nervous. But as the ceremony progressed, it was a shock when we got so far through the ceremony to actually see and know what was happening and who there was. And I think I can honestly say I can't really remember anything about my first degree. The night was a complete blank. And it was, and I had struggled to give a return to the lodge on my initiation. I was completely blank, I must admit, Chris. It was a completely blank night.
To be honest with you, if you talk to most Freemasons, their first night, they are like a rabbit in the headlights. It's interesting.
Very much so.
Very much so. In our lodge, they recommend that someone goes to a first, even if it's in a sister lodge,
yes.
very, very soon afterwards, to see it from the other point of view, to actually see what's happening.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%, because you don't know. I can vividly remember my raising, but as for the initiation, I was just amazed at the people who sat there and who there was and who I actually knew. I think that was more to the point, because I got friends who had come out of the woodwork who knew I was joining, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, never, you know. So, but it was a lovely, lovely night. Lovely night.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you've been through the chair. Is that right? Have you?
No.
No, you haven't. Oh, there you go.
No, but that has been one regret what I have never done, really, because of business reasons. I've never ever. We're running our own business for 40 plus years. When I should have done and had the time to go, or when I should have done rather, and it was my time to go, I couldn't do it. And as a result, I've never gone through, but I can honestly say that it's not stopped me doing what I wanted to do in Freemason. So,
do you think it's something that you're still working now at the moment, aren't you?
I am now retired.
Is it something you could quite fancy doing now?
Well, the guys have asked me at Lumley if I would like to do, and I think that probably now I would do it. In fact, Chris, I belong to the oh God, I'm lost for words. A lodge in Horncastle, anyway, and the Round Table,
yes,
lodge. And I was going to go through the chair there last year, but unfortunately, due to illness, I couldn't do it. And I've actually been out for the best part of a year now due to illness. So it was curtailed, and that's not going to happen. So,
okay. Have you done all the jobs, the deacons and the wardens' roles up to it?
No, my first role ever was as almoner. You know, and I took this role on many years ago now, and it's something I enjoy doing. I've been doing it for many a year, and yeah, I even got my honours because of, and I'm proud to say it as well, because of what I do, and not because I went through the chair. I'm one of the few what have received them for doing actually work, and so yeah.
Well, in a second we'll move on and talk about the charitable element, which is very, very important to Freemason.
Yeah.
What I would say to you, Terry, as one brother to another, is please do take the opportunity of going through the chair, because again, people always regret what they didn't do and what they did. And I from meeting you before this call and what I've heard before, I think you'd make an excellent worshipful master. Okay, so charity is a very important part of being a Freemason, and the almoner is integral to that in the lodge. Why is charity important to you personally?
I joined. One of the reasons was that over the years you always support various bits and pieces, and I had done. I mean, I used to support a children's home in Spilsby and one in Skegness at one time, and you've always do bits and pieces. And then, of course, with Freemasonry being a charitable organisation as well, it became natural, but it became more to me as almoner. When I became an almoner, then things changed, because you see the other side of the fence. As far as I was concerned, I used to, and we always have had, the almoners in Lumley have always been very active. We're not ones who are on the telephone. We actually are out in the field. We see people. We do take people to hospital, doctors, various things, whether it's the widows, the family, or the actual member. So, and you see the good and bad, and also, regarding the widows, you see some widows who will always be fine, and the opposite. So, and you do come across where charity certainly is a big part to play.
I mean, I can only talk personally. My great-grandfather was a Freemason in Scotland, and basically moved from one lodge to another because of his job, but basically died almost straight away when he moved over.
Yeah.
Both lodges refused to look after the widow, and I see it as my response. It's a shame, but this was 1900 years ago. I see it as my responsibility to anything I can do to pay back, because I think the magic thing is, I don't know about you, is you'd want, if you passed away, ourselves, you'd want your wife to be looked after. Well, we're not talking about not necessarily money, but just caring that that your husband's friends are keeping an eye out for you, and that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, and you do see it, and you start to live and breathe it. At the end of the day, and I've always seen it, like I say, for a number of years. It is my aim to help as many as I've got to do, and I will carry on doing that.
Well, if it makes you a happy person and also gets you out of the house so your missus can have the remote control, it's a win-win situation.
Very good idea, that. Yeah.
Terry, talk to me about this fish and chip initiative that you had and what difference it made to local NHS staff during the COVID crisis.
Well, I mean, that was brilliant how all that happened. We had thought, I mean, I will just start by saying that as an almoner in Lumley is always, as an almoner, I've always had a fund. I always have my own bank account, and over the years it's gradually builds up, and with donations and collections, raffles at the lodge, etc. Obviously to give the widows a nice gift at Christmas, which we always do. And it's always been there in case the next person who comes along needs to have any sort of money for getting about, their travel expenses, because we do travel all over. I mean, Nottingham, Leicester, Sheffield. We really have done the counties. So this fund has always been there. So. And was building up quite nicely. So when this COVID came in, and suddenly Province got involved with, doing things and Meals on Wheels, etc. It was the very last initiate we had was a guy called Vic Fox, who owns a fish shop, among other things, in Skegness. And the next thing I know is Vic's been putting out fish and chips to various people, and he rang me up and said, can I do this, can I be involved with Lumley, because he didn't really know anything as a new Mason. So I said yeah, and I got talking to him, and it was at that time we sort of, if you like, did a partnership, and Lumley did its part, and Vic did, as an individual, his part. So what we did, we took on, and I went through, obviously, various things, and we ended up taking fish and chips, obviously, to our widows, number one, and if we'd got any of our members who was vulnerable, we supplied the services, the police, the fire. We did the chemotherapy unit down at Skegness Hospital, and then we went out. We thought we'll do the services, the frontline services, because Vic was taking care of the hospital and the nurses. So then we went further afield, and we went out into the people within the district who we knew was vulnerable, and who we could help. And a friend of mine, he asked a local vicar, and they usually know people, and we took on a number of people in Burley Marsh, which is a small village, it's a town actually, a small town up from Skegness, and we did probably 30 odd people there, and it just expanded, Chris, and in the end we was taking out, Lumley was supporting and buying the fish and chips off Vic for about 100 people every Friday. Vic, I may tell you, was doing an awful lot more.
And how did it make you feel that, that you are, let's be honest, those were dark days during the COVID crisis. Everyone
Yeah,
loves fish and chips from Skeggy, but basically a
yeah,
gift out of the darkness.
yeah.
You were bringing a smile and a cheer to people's faces, weren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, the telephone calls I've had and the cards and letters from various people. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic. And I suppose the ones who really came to the front on it all was our widows. I mean, they couldn't believe that what we was doing for them. I mean, they was well isolated, and I may add that I was isolated. I mean, I did the organisation for a start, but I mean, without the team, the lads who went out and actually did the delivering, I mean, it could never have happened. So it was a complete teamwork. But the widows, the ladies from the lodge, the widows, they loved it, and they couldn't believe. And we also took on another lodge's widows as well, some of them.
I mean,
because they found out.
Here's a lesson here for all lodges here, that is, I appreciate that, most lodges have a Christmas fund for their widows, but potentially, it's all very easy sending a check for 20, 30 quid, but actually taking out some hot food with a smile and a cheer, going forward, could potentially be more memorable than receiving a 20, 30 quid check. So there's a thought.
Without a doubt, Chris, you're spot on. I mean, it did more for those people than anything. There's no doubt about it. They see a face every Friday, and it was brilliant. And I can't sort of up it up enough. Really, it was great.
Lovely. One final question before we go, Terry, is let's just say you were talking to a friend of yours and who didn't know anything about Freemasonry. In a couple of sentences, how would you, and I hate to say the word sell because we don't sell anything, how would you describe, in a kind of mini sales way, what Freemasonry is about? What, more importantly, what they would get out of being a Freemason?
Well, I mean, first of all, you would certainly hope that they would get involved with the charity side of any organisation. I don't think there'd be, although it's not the be-all, but I think it's a very important part of being a Freemason is the charitable side. So they would have to certainly be charitable. But, the comradeship you get and the friends what you meet, and I mean, I've got friends all over the county and counties beyond, and it is because of Freemasonry, and we have a life out of Freemasonry, and I think this is the good thing. And Freemasons now, we put on an awful lot. I mean, I was involved with the fun day, what we have. Unfortunately, it was curtailed this year. But I mean, even days like that for the families and what goes on, it's not just about going to a meeting once a week or once a month. There's a lot more goes on, and they do get a lot of pleasure once they get involved.
I think it's like, as the wife says, it's a boys' club. We do good for ourselves. We do good for the community. We do good for, for the lodge itself.
Yeah.
We have a purpose. We have great charity, but at the end of the day, it's a bunch of blokes having a few beers and a bants.
Yeah.
But, what's doing good for the community? What more else could you want?
Well, you've about said it. I mean, we look forward to our nights, obviously, and usually we're the last ones out of the lodge because we've got a lovely new lodge at Skegness, as you probably know, and we're usually in the bar sometimes at 12 o'clock at night. So that is all part of it, and if you can bring the new ones in, they see that it's not so fuddy-duddy as what...
It isn't a lot, and I like the fact that you've got the serious part.
Yes.
So you've got the fun part, and I think it's the black and white, you get the good bits of going down the pub with your mates, but at the same time there's a purpose and so it's the best of both worlds.
You're dead right, and you must have that as well, because, unlike some lodges probably used to be, you do need to have the fun part. You do need to be able to go and have a nice meal at a festive board, have a bit of a laugh, do the things what you've got to do at the festive board, but also, you know, you can't just sit there and not say anything and not have a bit of a joke between yourselves. You make it fun, and that's what I feel that we do. I honestly do. You know, I know I big up Lumley Lodge, but I do feel that we are very, very friendly. And for that reason, you know, we do get the visitors and we have a good time. And like you say, you go one side and it's serious, you come out and it's our time.
Excellent.
Very nice.
Terry, I'd like to thank you for your time today. I'd also like to thank people watching this video for your time to watch Terry's story, and I hope you've been inspired like I have been. If you are a Lincolnshire Freemason and you have an interesting story to tell, please do contact Stuart Piercy, who's the Provincial Communications Officer. His contact details can be found through the Lincolnshire Province website. And maybe you could be in the next episode of the Lincolnshire Freemasonry Stories. Terry, thank you for your time today. You've been inspirational. Please keep up the good work. I look forward to meeting you, all being well, later in the year or whenever we meet up, because I know I'm in Grantham, so that's quite a distance from Skeggy.
Yeah.
But I look forward to seeing you and having a pint of refreshing beer in the festive board. Thank you for your time today, my friend.
Chris, thank you very much. And believe me, I will see you get an invite and come across and have a look at our brand new lodge over the past 3 years and enjoy our night with us.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.